Hello and welcome to the latest video and podcast from Fantasy Football Scout as we look ahead to Fantasy Premier League Game Week 6 and try and pinpoint those under the radar gems to help you climb up the rankings. We'll do this via the goals and assists imminent tables, which use the Fantasy Football Scout members area stats to try and predict future returns. We had a comment last week saying that they didn't like stat-based shows. They preferred FPL shows that looked at actual points scored. Well, that's easy. You can just that's an easy video. You just look on the screen on FPL and you can see all the points scored. The tough bit is analysing the stats to try and predict future returns, and that's what most people really want. So we'll see how we got on last week, and we'll see if we did well at predicting those future returns. We'll reveal the latest stats ahead of Game Week 6. And we have a Differentials table too. Spoiler alert, we did rather well in last week's one of that. We'll also reveal our early transfer thoughts for Game Week 6. In addition, there's more. We'll take some questions you have at the end of the stream. So have a think about those and post your questions in the live chat at the end. My name is Joe. And joining me, as ever, to unearth some of those under-the-radar gems is Tom Freeman, Fantasy Football Scout's Deputy Editor. Tom, welcome. How are you?
Yeah, I'm okay, thanks, Joe. Game week 5 was difficult. I'm not going to lie. A lot went wrong, including the Son captaincy. But got a couple of free transfers now, a new game week. And to be honest, I kind of mentally already started moving on Saturday evening when I knew it was going to be a bad one. So I think it's the case for a lot of us this week. I think it was quite an unpredictable week. If anybody got a lower score than me, which was 28, put it in the chat. I doubt we'll see anybody. But tricky game week.
I was close, 31 points, so not good. I also did that thing where you don't look at your team, just look at next week's team. Just forget about the game week. I more or less did that mentally as the week was going. I didn't think it was going to be a good game week. A lot of my players, I think, have got good fixtures coming up, and so if you don't own the right ones, like Salah, for example, you're gonna miss out. But yeah, we've offered lots of advice about what to do in a bad game week. Best thing, don't panic, don't make early moves. Lots of midweek Champions League games and Europa League games coming up. Lots of players involved there. So don't make those early moves. Look at team news on Game Week 5 with the show we'll do with Neil. Get that information. Some people are wildcarding, and there's nothing wrong with that at the moment. A lot of people are feeling their teams are a bit tired. But have a look at your team and think, oh, can I just make a move in just one move, and will that improve it? And some of my misfiring players actually could be quite good. And particular, just as an example, I'm sure we're going to talk about Marcus Rashford a bit later. But Brighton was a tough game. A lot of Manchester United fans, even though this was the 4th victory in a row for Brighton over Manchester United, still think it's an easy fixture because they're still stuck in 1983 where they hammered Brighton in the FA Cup replay. But it's, Brighton are a better team, better squad, and better team behind the scenes than Manchester United now, and that is a reality. And the stats and everything prove that. Particularly, I think it was Pascal Gross's goal, 31 passes. I mean, that was basically Barcelona against Manchester United.
We said he was going to score last week, didn't we? Yep. He's got a great record against United. And he popped up. Yeah, I'm looking forward to having a chat about Gross a bit later because I think he'll probably appear in a couple of the tables.
But obviously I'm a Brighton fan, so I'm going to go about them. But Marcus Rashford was great in that game. I thought he was brilliant, and I thought he was really close to quite a good haul. He definitely very close to an assist, chalked off, and could have scored one or two more. I mean, that could have been a huge haul for Rashford there.
Well, he had 9 shots in that game.
Wow.
And it was a similar story, I thought, for Sterling on Sunday. He hit the bar very, very close in the second half. I think he faded a bit, but I thought he looked a threat at times, and it was just one of those game weeks where we came very close to returns, but not much materialised.
Okay, a couple of people in the chat were saying Tom is a bit quiet. I'd actually reduced his volume, so I've turned it up a little bit, just because he's still got. We're still mic imminent, so he is due a new mic. But a bit like Nicholas Jackson, it's been due for a while, and we're not sure it's ever going to give us some returns. But I think this mic could be coming. We're gonna hatch a plan to finally get Tom a new mic. It's imminent.
I'm not using the computer one now. It's the webcam, and I think that should be okay. But if I'm still quiet, let us know in the chat. And I can bump it my side a little bit, but I'm not going to touch that for now because I think it'll affect everything else.
No, I've turned you up a little bit, and you seem to be similar to mine according to the readings I have. Before we have a look to see how we got on with last week's tables, just to welcome all of those who joined us in the live chat. Welcome. A Dawson, Connor, Generic, Historia Films, Aaron, Let's Talk Final, J77 Lag, Many Morche, Arafal, Roynish, Ed, many more. I can't name you all. Sorry about that. Thanks so much for joining us in the live chat. Have a think about some questions towards the end, and we'll try and answer as many as we can. And remember to put a question mark on them towards the end so we can easily spot that they are questions. Okay, let's have a look how we got on in game week 5 on our goals imminent. Well, I mean, much like our game week, and I suppose this proves this is the stats version of how bad the game week was. We only got one. We got no goals out of these players. We got one assist, Ollie Watkins, the perennial assist guy, and everyone else was a blank. But that's the same with our teams. We all expected a lot from these players, and they didn't return for us. Okay, so we got Jackson first. I am now of the opinion, I guess I always have been because I don't own Jackson, that Jackson is a dud. He's a Redmond. He's a Nathan Redmond player. He's going to always be on this table. He might get a goal, but he's not of the caliber of Ollie Watkins, for example, who's also on this table, who also hasn't scored for a while. But there's a gulf. I mean, do you get that as well? Is Jackson just simply not of a quality?
Well, he's wasteful at the moment, isn't he? And he just feels rushed in a lot of his play. Having watched the game at Bournemouth on Sunday, he did hit the post with a shot from outside the box, but generally his first touch is erratic, and it's going to take time for him to settle. You do wonder if maybe with the Nkunku injury, if he's been just thrust in too soon. Broja hasn't been available. He's playing 90 minutes consistently when maybe he just needs to be taken out the firing line a little bit to just take that pressure off, because I think it is building on him a bit. I don't know if he's a dud or not, because I think we probably need a bit longer, but I get why people are losing patience with him, because it's very frustrating when you're watching it and you're watching players get chances. A bit like Darwin last year, he's getting big chances, but he's consistent. He's only scored the one goal against Luton Town so far. Yeah. So I get why people are selling them. The fixtures are still good, but there's some pretty appealing alternatives out there.
Let's Talk Final in the chat has pointed out as well. Jackson's now one yellow off a ban, which is incredibly poor discipline from him.
None of them have been for fouls. It's all been for dissent, I think, as well, which shows you that he's getting frustrated within himself because he's not converting these chances. Liam points out, said, whoa, random shot at Redmond. I do apologise. I should have explained why I said Nathan Redmond. Nathan Redmond historically on this table over a number of seasons, he's always on this table and never delivers. He tends to pop off because the stats go down, or he just stays there forever. I've known Nathan Redmond to be there for months, and he'll just keep racking up the shots over the last 4 weeks matches he's played, and he'll never score. And that's why I wondered if Jackson is that player as well. He's always going to shoot, but he's always going to just hit the bar, just miss, aim at the goalkeeper. That's the Nathan Redmond way. So we wonder. Right, you're a Villa fan, Watkins. What is this? I mean, we've 5 games weeks now. He's getting subbed off about the 70, 80th minute mark. Duran's coming on scoring. He's brilliantly consistent if he was a 6 million midfielder, because he's getting an assist every week. But he's not scoring. So what is going on with Ollie Watkins? What do we make of him? But he's still, I mean, I feel like I keep saying this, but he's heavily involved. And again, I think he was unlucky at the weekend. He forced a save from Johnston. He probably should have scored in the first half. Second half, he had a great shot, hit the bar. He won the penalty. So he's still getting returns, albeit they're not the returns where you're going to go and get bonus as well, which is what we need from. We need him to be scoring. But he's got 4 assists in 5 now, I think it is. He did get subbed off a bit around the Europa Conference League playoffs against Hibs. He's been playing more since then, certainly at the weekend. Now, our Conference League campaign does kick off the group stage this Thursday. I think after Duran's cameo, and he's impressed this year when he's come in, he might get the start, and Watkins might be handed a bench role or something, which would give him a serious chance of getting to 90 minutes at Chelsea at the weekend. I still don't think there's not a lot wrong that I'm seeing with Watkins. He's just, again, he probably needs that 1 goal to go on a run, but he's getting chances. And when you hit when you're hitting the post like he is, which he's done in both of his home games, I think it's very fine margins between him being a very successful game week and an average one at the moment. But we've got good fixtures from 8. So if you can afford to hold on a bit, and he scored at Chelsea last year, if I remember rightly. So I would probably keep the faith a bit longer.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Chelsea are going to get a clean sheet this time round. So Watkins looks primed to score. We would hope. Let's see if he's still on the goals imminent table. Also, as you point out, game week 8, the fixtures are great, and I'm probably going to wildcard around 8, 9. And I'm definitely eyeing up Watkins, depending on budget. I might go for Diaby instead. But Watkins, I think, looks, should be. I mean, I'm not seeing when the highlight shows I'm seeing and the matches, I'm not seeing, as you said, tremendously wrong. That's why I asked you as a fan as well.
No, I mean he has gone on these little runs before where it dips a bit, and he needs a goal desperately, and he's not on penalties obviously anymore. And obviously Dougie Luiz stepped up to score the one that he won at the weekend. So he's had that taken away from his game. He wasn't great at penalties, but that gives you a chance to get that duck off your back kind of thing. And that isn't there anymore. So, but I'm not seeing anything from my perspective that is really wrong with him at the moment.
Okay, Enzo Fernandez next, another blank. I think he could be another dud because Chelsea just aren't gelling. If he's in a more attacking role, that's clearly not helping the team because they're not really scoring. And he's more of a defensive central midfielder, so hence him not scoring because he's not an accurate striker. So it would be unfair.
I think he's there, isn't he? Because Nkunku's injured, and I think as soon as he's back, he'll probably slot into that second striker role.
I think in AFPL terms, I think that the hint that he would have been a prospect for us, I think, is vanishing with every game week. His slightly misspelt brother, Bruno Fernandes, Manchester United. Now he was playing on the right wing against Brighton, and that was a tough match. And there's a great clip of him just being really frustrated in the middle of one of Brighton's passing all around the team. But I've still got him. I think against Burnley, I think he could do well. Once again with him, I'm not seeing anything particularly wrong. I mean, towards the end of the game, he's in a more defensive role. But if he is even on the right wing against Burnley next up, that's got. I mean, I think he's a hold for now, and I think he's going to hop off the goals or indeed assists imminent tables for good reason soon. But see, I don't think Manchester United are as bad as people make out, because people look at the result against Brighton and assume Brighton are like, I don't know, playing Cheltenham or Yeovil or something, and it's not quite the same as that anymore. But I don't know about you. I mean, you saw the game, but just over the 5 game weeks, is Manchester United, they've got a striker now, a proper striker. I think there's still a little bit of a hold at the moment.
I think so, because of the fixtures. I mean, they trialled this new system at the weekend, which was a bit more of a diamond with Rashford up top with Højlund, and that's going to take a bit of time to get used to. Okay. I think if the fixtures were tough, I think that'd be an easy sell given what we've seen. But I think because they go to Burnley, because they've got Palace, Brentford, Sheffield United next, I'm happy to keep the faith a little bit longer. They've had a tough run, United, as well. I mean, they've already played Spurs, Arsenal, Brighton, and that's a tricky run for any team.
Yeah.
So yes, defensively they're looking really suspect, but going forward, I think it's going to click for them in one of the next 2 games. They've got their attackers are too good for it not to, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And they're a hold for me.
I'll tell you what, Rashford and Fernandes are so good. I reckon they could make it into the Brighton 11. They're that good. Jordan Ayew's next at Crystal Palace. I mean he's a good asset, but I think Edouard and Eze are probably the main draws there, so we'll sort of skip over him. I'm going to highlight Kuna there. He didn't get anything here, but Wolves players did get us a return. We mentioned Neto last time. We mentioned other of their players, attacking players, and Wolves are perhaps losing, but they're still scoring. So they're not like they've got firepower there, and so I think people are laughing less at them now in terms of when they see these names on the table. But
Neto's been excellent, hasn't he, Joe? You just mentioned him there, and he's created more chances than any other player in the Premier League this year. So if you've got him pulling the strings, and I thought Bellegarde looked good against Liverpool as well, the new signing. I just worry if Cunha's I think there's going to be a bit of rotation up there. You've got few options, and then they're not really converting their chances as much as you'd like at the moment. So I probably wouldn't look at him, but Neto I certainly would.
Yeah. Definitely a very good handy enabler, rolling back the years a little bit. He was early last season. He was a bit of a pre-season punt, but done well. Danjuma at Everton. I mean, Everton, like with Jackson, pre-season I thought, is Jackson up for it? Not sure. And with Everton, I thought, are Everton up for it? But the more I see of Everton, the more I think they're a championship side. And I think they're just a no-go from Pickford up to Danjuma to Calvert-Lewin. They're a no-go zone for me. So we could probably sketch over them. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they just didn't set up against Arsenal to get anything out of their attackers. You know, they didn't give them a chance. Danjuma started on the right wing. He moved to the left wing, but he just couldn't get into the game. And they've got good fixtures coming up, but.
Yeah, it's form over fixtures. Eze's next. Now, a lot of people were thinking of ditching Eze last week, and I said he's a buy, not a buy. And I still think he is. I still think he's a buy, because let's have a look. Crystal Palace's next 2 fixtures are
Fulham next, and
Fulham
then Forest in a couple of weeks, isn't it?
Yeah, Manchester United.
A couple of weeks.
So in terms of defence, in terms of their attack, they do well against Manchester United, and I said Pascal Gross did well against Manchester United last week. Crystal Palace do well against Manchester United as well. So looking at their fixtures, they've got Fulham up next, home game there, away at Manchester United, home at Nottingham Forest. He's a buy if you don't have him. If I had a space or wanted to make that move, or I was wildcarding, I would seriously consider Eze for the next 3 to get returns. And Rashford is next. We've spoken about him. I think he looked good. I think he looked really good. Yeah. He's looked really sharp. He's playing on the left. They have a striker. Goals are imminent. We didn't get him this time. Okay, let's have a look at assists imminent. Marginally better here. Thank you to Story of Films in the live chat for pointing out that we were one of, or perhaps the only podcast last week to talk about Pascal Gross, his fine record against Brighton and Hove Albion. I think it was my son that pointed out that he now has 7 goals in the last 10 matches against Manchester United, which is not bad. Which is not bad. I think only Salah and I think it's a Man City player. No, it's only Gerrard and. So, I mean, it's these legendary players have only got more returns than Pascal Gross against Manchester United.
Really?
So we've spoken about Enzo Fernandez, didn't get us assist, didn't get us our goal either. But Pascal Gross didn't get the assist, but he did get the goal. So we were right to plug him there. Well done, anyone who got him in. And Jensen at Brentford didn't get a return. But I don't think many people will go for him, but he's exactly the kind of player that will get us a return next week if he's still on the list. Bruno Fernandes, we've spoken about, didn't get us the assist, but the fact is he was on the goals and assists table, and he himself is not bad. Manchester United may have issues in certain parts of the pitch, but he himself is fine. Son, he really let people down. I didn't get him in my team purely because I thought I was going to be badly punished for that this game, but it's those next two fixtures. So looking down my list here, Spurs, they got Arsenal and Liverpool. Yeah. So it's those next two fixtures I didn't fancy. Game week 8 against Luton maybe, but But as it transpired, Sheffield United were doing all sorts of time wasting tricks, but it came back to them with the new rules, didn't it? There was an extra. I don't know how many extra minutes they got, but it cost them dearly. You've got Son, you've got Maddison as well.
No, I went just Son. For I bought in Son at the weekend. I captained him, liked the fixture, thought he'd play a central role. He did. But he was crowded out from what I saw. He didn't have a lot of space. He had that one shot which was palmed away in the first half by Foderingham, and I thought he should have had a penalty too. I did think when it was clipped just near the edge of the box. But underwhelming. Wanted much more from him. When you make a move like that, you really are kind of needing a return or a couple of returns, and it didn't happen. I'm not fully decided yet, but I might hold him because I think no Europe for Spurs could help them in the next couple of weeks. But a bit like Chelsea.
Richarlison came on. Brazil's number 9 came on and won them the game. So could you see Son moving back to the left?
I could, but I don't think it's definite for this game at Arsenal. I'm not sure if he would start because they've been playing Solomon on the wing, who we'll probably chat about later. Again, I think he's on one of the tables, but he might be the player they kind of use in this match at Arsenal, I'm not sure if they'd throw Richarlison into this. So it'd be good to get some thoughts if there's any Spurs fans in the chat, because I'm not sure. It wouldn't surprise me if Son played through the middle in this one again. And but even if he is out a bit wider, he can still cause problems in these. There's going to be more space in these games for him to attack. And I think the fact that Arsenal have got PSV, Liverpool, they'll probably rotate a lot, but the week after I think it's League Cup matches next week, isn't it? So it's probably more applicable to the Arsenal match. But I don't mind keeping him, because if I'm going to delay the wild card a bit, like you say, I'm probably going to want him back in game week 8 anyway for Luton. So I'll probably hold him, and it hasn't gone well so far. But Son has a habit of popping up in these big fixtures. Normally a lot of goals in this one as well, in the North London derby.
As a Maddison owner, I hope so. I hope they're all assisted by him. Eze, we've spoken about. He let us down this week, but as I said, that was a tough fixture. But the next 3 are good for his point of view. Kulusevski is next. He didn't get us an assist, but he did get us a goal. He did get us a return. Come game week 8, if I don't wildcard then, and where Spurs play Luton then, I'm very tempted to get Kulusevski in instead of Son. If I can't afford Son, I think Kulusevski would be a good asset to bring in. The attack just looks great at the moment. I think Sheffield United were trying to do a number on them, but not every team will succeed, and Sheffield United certainly didn't succeed in the end.
All it takes is Spurs to score, make one of those chances go in early doors, and then the floodgates could have opened in that one. I think Sheffield game plan was to keep it tight, and it did. But that won't always happen in matches, like it didn't happen at Burnley. But Kulusevski, Neil liked him a lot last week, and he put him in a couple of his picks. And so it was good to see that. I mean, when the focus is already, I like it when focus is on Son, Maddison, Richarlison coming off the bench, but then the other player steps up, and Kulusevski was probably the best player out of those lot at the weekend, I thought.
I've often. Since he's come into the Premier League, he's often been in my teams. He's one of my favourite FPL players because I seem to have timed his goals quite nicely. And so I have a special relationship with him. That he's unaware of it, but
yeah, well, he was great when he came in, wasn't he? And
yeah.
but yeah, I mean, he's a real differential, isn't he? If you go for Kulusevski over Madison or Son, I mean, that
Yeah.
is punty, but it paid off at the weekend.
Saka is next on the list. He did indeed get us an assist. He was on the assist imminent table there. I guess Saka isn't the most interesting talking points from that Arsenal game, though. Saka, I think, is just doing his job. He's just ticking along nicely. He's going to tick along with goals and assists, still on penalties, although he might not get every penalty, but he's still among the penalty takers. But the two interesting things I thought was Raya coming in goal, and Raya fits in with that what Brentford's model is, and the same model that Brighton have with their goalkeeper playing out from the back. But it's really, I mean, if you saw the way Steele played against Manchester United, and Raya does the same thing, and he offered much more defensive solidity, I thought, and helped their attacking play, even though they got one goal. Raya looked a better goalkeeper than Ramsdale.
Yeah, there's a really interesting quote from Arteta, which was in our scout notes after the game, when he said that he doesn't have many regrets as a manager, Arteta, but there's been a couple of instances over the last kind of 6 months where he wished he had made a goalkeeper substitution during a match. He said that he'd had these thoughts and then they'd gone on to concede. And he said that it's kind of frowned upon to change the keeper halfway through the match, but he said he's going to do it if he feels that again. So don't be surprised to see somebody hauled off on 70 minutes if it isn't going, if he thinks that's the right thing to do. I think they're going to rotate a bit, these two, with Europe.
Yeah.
But I do think that Raya's the better goalkeeper. So longer term, it wouldn't surprise me if he slowly starts to play more of the Premier League games. But yeah, that's quite an interesting one. I mean, you don't often see that, do you? Where the goalie's getting taken off on 70 minutes or whatever.
Yeah, that could happen. I mean, that obviously makes them in FPL terms a no-go, but it does. It can influence their play, and it could make them more attacking against certain teams. It certainly helps their play, I think, sometimes.
I guess that's what he was referencing, because I don't think you'd be taking Ramsdale off for poor shot stopping or anything, but it might be the game. There might be a scenario where he wants to keep this team to keep hold of the ball better, and that's when you might send Raya on for the last 20 minutes or something. So
definitely.
Interesting.
Yeah, that is an interesting note. The other thing is Martinelli went off injured. At this stage, we don't know the extent of that injury. Could be back, could be out for some time. Trossard came in, and we spoke about this last week with bit part players at Arsenal and Newcastle. That they're doing well in these tables. The underlying stats are strong. They're really making the most of their minutes. And we said Trossard could be an option if Martinelli is out. And I think he still is. I mean, the goal was great. He's doing things that other players can't do. Martinelli's still great, obviously, as well. But he's a very different player and offers something a bit different. But yeah, if Martinelli's out, Trossard's nailed on, you would assume. And he's a really great option. So...
he's a great player. Yeah, you want to see him playing more minutes. He's deserved to play more minutes, but there's a lot of competition there. But yeah, it was funny that we did say that last week. We needed an injury to open it up. And he made an impact, didn't he? But I think it was a muscle problem, hamstring that Martinelli came off with. So let's see what happens with that.
And final name on the list, Trippier. If I've got the money, he's a top transfer target for me. Newcastle defence, strong underlying stats. And once they've got the easy fixtures, that's going to turn into clean sheets, and so it is as well. So he's getting the clean sheets, and he's due an assist. He's often due an assist. If he does, then that's a mega haul for him, because he'll get bonus.
He got bonus even without it at the weekend.
Exactly,
didn't he?
He'll get bonus because of his passing, because of his amounts of chances he creates. So he builds that up. So Trippier is a player. I don't mind seeing him blank on here. And I didn't get him in. I got a Dogie in for Rico Henry last week because I've got a Stupinan, and I like the symmetry of those two, because when they rotate quite nicely, and I think Adogie's a great player, and could have got me a haul. But well done for those that went for Newcastle defender, because they another defence we should be targeting. And this, I'm just going to put another table up now. This was the differentials. We did ultra differentials, and this was below 5% ownership. And this did very, very well indeed. So, I mean, Neil Maupay's at the top. That's largely from his time at Everton. He's now at Brentford. He's not really going to get a game, so we'll go over him. And Trossard is exactly what we were just talking about there. He was our ultra differential. We said exactly, if he gets the minutes, he'll do well, and he did. And so that. Brooks at Bournemouth. They played Brighton next. He didn't get us any returns this time out, but good to see him there. Aya at Brentford as well is another name there. Hwang at Wolves, another Wolves player. The laughter is getting less and less with these players, which is great. Hwang is certainly rewarding us for our faith in him there with a goal. And Awoniyi got an assist, and Awoniyi got the assist. Now, he's returned in pretty much every match now for God knows when. If it's not a goal, he's assisting. He's just a really good asset at the moment, isn't he? Even though Nottingham Forest have Man City next, I think if you're wild carding now and you're looking long term, you just want a cheap striker that is returning consistently. This is the guy, isn't it?
I think his last blank was in game week 34 of last season, so he's returned in 9 games in a row. I think I'm right in saying that, and it's kind of crazy because before we were saying he's not shoot. I kind of wrote a piece on it saying he needs to shoot more to make this sustainable. Yeah. Well, he didn't start shooting more, but he started getting assists. So he kind of found a way around that. So exactly. We spoke about it last week as well. We said that Edouard, Awoniyi. Suddenly there's these Alvarez, these mid-price forwards emerging, and there's a lot. And switching to a 3-4-3 is really vital. There's great midfielders, don't get me wrong, but 3-4-3 is viable too. And they've got Man City, Brentford, so I'd probably get those fixtures out the way first. Then that's when why not go for him? Forest have suddenly got a few attacking players. They've got Gibbs White, they've got Hudson-Odoi, who scored a screamer last night. They've got Elanga. They've got a bit of creativity there now, and they're going to be feeding him. So mind it.
For those playing the Sky game, yesterday was quite good because lots of people own Jackson, and lots of people you can make changes each day and captain a player each day, and everyone was waiting to get Awoniyi in. They wanted the team sheet, and as soon as we got it, we all happily you go Jackson, and Awoniyi came in. So Awoniyi is an absolute template pick in that format of fantasy football now amongst engaged managers. That is, we've got Sarr at Tottenham. Not really expecting much, but you never know if they're so attacking. A lot of their players can get returns. But it's Edouard is next for Crystal Palace. We've spoken about Eze's great fixtures. Obviously, Edouard's great fixtures too. He is another player that's perhaps worth getting in if you're looking for a differential. And he did return last week with a goal. I think there could be more to come. But I suspect we'll see Edouard somewhere in the scout picks this week if they don't go for Eze.
Well, that's it. We set up the bus team the other day, and we went to Eze and that. But Edouard was also on the kind of the short list, and he's a really good option because he's got ahead of Mateta. They're playing well. I'm just having a look at. He played 80. He's getting the minutes as well. He played 89 at Villa. So the worry was last year that the strikers rotated a bit. He was getting taken off on 70. That's not really happening this year. Good link-up play, I thought, against Villa. Bit fortunate with the Martinez slip to the goal, but he's another good option.
In the live chat up, Raw is saying that he's getting Edouard in for Jackson. I mean, if I had Jackson, I would he'd be top of the chopping block for me, especially one incredibly for a striker. Considering I don't think Gary Lineker got booked once in his career, is that right? And this guy's got four bookings, and we're only 5 matches in.
It's incredible. I mean, Pochettino spoke about it after the game, and he said it's this new ruling for dissent where they're very hot on it, but it's just surely you need one of the more experienced players, Thiago Silva. Enzo Fernandez to kind of, he was in the, I think it happened off a camera at the weekend, but it was the Bournemouth had a free kick, and it cut to a shot, and he was just rabbiting on at the referee. It's just like, just get one of your senior players to just take him to one. You need leadership there.
Yeah, he's just
that's a bit of the problem at the Chelsea at the moment.
I mean, Chelsea's buying strategy is a masterclass in how not to buy. It's just absolutely woeful. So much money.
Yeah, I mean, Cole Palmer kind of came on at the weekend, didn't he? And don't really know where he's going to fit in. There's a lot of players in it. I mean, Pochettino's got a big job on there to try and turn them into a cohesive unit. I think he can do it. So I think there's a lot of quality there, but it's just going to take a bit of time.
I think we'll see.
Hopefully a bit longer with Villa up next as
possibly see Broja next soon.
Yes. I think he's back out on the grass, isn't he? He wasn't ready for the bench at the weekend, and I don't know if he'll be ready for this weekend, but sooner or later. I mean, Jackson does need somebody to take the pressure off him.
Definitely. Okay, let's move on to goals imminent for game week 6. So these are hopefully we want some of those players that are in our teams on here, or perhaps if you're wildcarding some of those players, you're to highlight. Okay, game week 6. Watkins is still there. 5 big chances missed. He's had 5 big chances, fluffed them all. Just 4 shots on target, but 14 shots, 13 inside the box. To miss that miss the target from so many shots in the box would indicate what's happening here. So you were talking about confidence, and I guess he just needs that goal, and then the floodgates will open with him. But
I mean, he's been very, very good under Emery, you know, but it's just he's going through a little bit of a dip at the moment.
So I'm not I haven't given up on him. Jackson, I have, and many other people have. 7 big chances, fluffed 6 of them, has scored, which, I mean, he wasn't all-time classic goal, but he nevertheless has scored. 6 shots on target from 18 shots. He's expected goal delta like Watkins and Jackson. He should have scored 2 more than they got. In Jackson's case, he's already got 1. Playing Aston Villa next, good side. Arguably a better side at the moment than Chelsea, I would say.
Absolutely.
Well, not even arguably, they are. So Chelsea go into that as minnows. Fernandez is still there, still rocking on. So I think they're in the Nathan Redmond territory. Neto is here. Now, you spoke about, we'll have a look at assists imminent shortly, which he won't be on that because he's scored more than 1 assist over the last 4 matches. And you can only score 1 goal or fewer to be on this table. Once you have, you've arrived. You're no longer imminent. But Neto, goals could be imminent, as well as all those assists that he's already got. 4 shots on target, 8 shots inside the box, 10 shots in total. Should have got 1 more. Hasn't had any big chances, so hasn't missed any. But you spoke about him. Perhaps not the fixtures at the moment, but still, I mean, you say that, but we've been saying not the fixtures for Wolves all season. And he's got 4 assists. So... I think it is mainly. I think it's mainly going to be assists that he ticks along with. I think because he is so creative, he's on set pieces, but he will score the odd goal, and he's looked really good since O'Neill switched him to the left flank. I think he's better on the left flank, and they've got Luton and Bournemouth in the next 4, both away games. But I think Neto, he's very hard to fit in. I get it with midfields at the moment, but he's you've got to take note of a player when they're getting 4 assists and they're creating that many chances under a new manager. And very low owned too. So Eze's next. We've spoken at length about Eze. Got great fixtures coming up. Look away if you have just got rid of him last week because he had that bad fixture, but he's got loads more great fixtures coming up. He's had 3 big chances, missed 2 of them, but he has scored. Has 5 shots on. Eze. He had 7 shots on target. He's had 2 big chances. And 1 of those was missed and a goal. He should have got an extra, at least another goal. He's had 11 shots inside the box, and he's had an eye-popping 23 shots in total. he's good. He's good.
Yeah, he's just got that all-round threat, hasn't he?
Yeah.
We love it when these players pop up on both tables, and he is that perfect kind of player for that because he's got so many routes to points. And maybe penalties too.
Yes, indeed. Bruno Fernandes, we've spoken about. I'll just read out his stats though. He is still here. His goal is still imminent, and often when he's on here, my experience is that he pops off because he scores. That could be a penalty. It could be from open play. He's had 3 big chances, missed 2 of them, has scored. He has had 15 shots, just 5 inside the box. So a lot of those from long range, just 5 on target as well. And he should have got at least a goal more. But we have spoken about him. Billing at Bournemouth. We spoke about Brooks as well. So we will possibly be the only podcast this week to speak about Billing being an option at Bournemouth, 5.3 million. He's had a big chance and he's missed it. He's had 1 shot on target, but he plays Brighton next. Brighton are good, but their defence can concede. So I wouldn't rule out Bournemouth scoring. Solanke perhaps as well. 7 shots inside the box, 11 in total. It's good. And then Rashford is another we've spoken about already. 3 big chances, missed them all. He has scored though, 6 shots on target, playing out on the left now. So a lot of this is historic data based on him playing through the centre where he's not as good. So you could take any of these with a pinch of salt. But nevertheless, he's had 23 shots, 18 inside the box. These are great stats. I'm not going to put my house on Rashford getting me a return against Burnley, but I'm very excited about the prospect of him facing Burnley. Kuna's next. We mentioned him. Wolves attacker. Goal could be imminent. Playing Luton next. Well, there we go. We could be the only podcast to mention and video to mention Kuna here.
Just Wolves players in general, I think.
Yeah, and then IE we mentioned as well. I think he did go off injured, so we don't know the latest on that.
He got a dead leg.
Okay. So a lot of these players we mentioned before, because they didn't return for us last week, but their stats were still good, like Rashford. So if you've got any of these players or thinking about any of these players, these could be ones to get you up the rankings. Assists imminent next. Okay, some more familiar names. This is good. Now, Bruno Fernandes is top of here with 16 chances created, 19 corners. He should have got at least more than the assist. He should have at least got 2 assists, and he's had 5 successful crosses. He's got goal imminent potential, assist imminent potential. Playing Burnley next, he's a hold. Jensen at Brentford's intriguing differential, but I don't think many people will go there for other options or have space. But nevertheless, I'll just read his stats out. 9 successful crosses. That's double Bruno Fernandes, almost double Bruno Fernandes. He's had 12 corners, created 11 chances, and he's got Everton, championship-bound Everton next. Should have got at least 1 more than his current assist. So if you're looking for a 1-week punt, there you go. Enzo Fernandez, we've spoken about at length. He's always going to be here, I think. 14 corners, 11 chances created. He's not assisting, he's not scoring, but he's putting up strong attacking stats. But I think he'll always be here. Pascal Gross could be getting some more against Bournemouth. 16 chances created, taken 17 corners, 8 successful crosses. What's particularly good is a lot of the time Pascal Gross is playing in centre midfield. So for him to get 8 successful crosses and maintain that midfield role is quite something, I think. But sometimes he plays out on the wing as well.
Yeah. I mean, he's on corners, which I think that will. Some of that will be from that. But what I find interesting in Joe is that we're always talking about Gross as this creator, creating chances. But all of his returns this year have been goals, haven't they, I think? So well, if you've got that creativity, if then you start to add a bit of a goal threat, you've got a real player on your hands, I think.
I mean, last season he was the top scoring Brighton midfielder.
Yes.
This season he could very well be. And he won't be in any of our teams.
He's only what is it, 2.7% ownership at the moment.
I think.
Do you think with Europe now, Joe? Because obviously that's a big thing now with Brighton and a lot of teams. There's 8 clubs playing in Europe this week, but particularly with players like Brighton, do you think Gross, because he's started every game and Matoma has as well?
Yeah.
Do you think they're nailed on for the league? Do you think they'll continue to be, or do you
It's
think there'll be
really,
a bit of rotation?
I mean, this is new territory. Brian haven't been in Europe before, so we don't know the extent of this rotation. In the all in goes in the past, Gross is the first name on the team sheet.
Yeah.
If there's no right back, put Gross there. There's no centre midfielder, put him there. If there's no attacking midfielder, put him there. I mean, wherever there's a space, he will go, and there's always a space. And so he just wants him on the pitch. And looking at these stats, you can see why. So I think he'll try and play him as much as possible, possibly starting them all. I mean, there is a gap of a few days between Europe and the league. But yes, I think on current form, I would say Gross and Mitoma are probably the most nailed. March only missed out because there was a niggling injury, though, and I think March is as well. I mean, I've got Ferguson in my team, and obviously, he's going to rotate with Welbeck, but I kind of don't mind that. We're seeing lots of goals late on. It's just for this game, I'm going to keep him for. So
makes sense.
I don't mind seeing him. I didn't mind seeing him on the bench against Manchester United. So we don't know there. But yeah, Gross is probably the best Brighton asset. He's got everything. Goals, assists, and completely nailed. Like totally nailed. Sterling is still here. And it's what you were saying, the Chelsea game. I mean, we both owned Sterling. I'm happy to have it. It's like a shining light in that Chelsea side. 9 chances created, 5 successful crosses. The only problem is these 5 successful crosses is he's only got 1 assist. He's created 9 chances because he's got no one to get on the end of it. And that is the problem. Not Sterling, it's the rest of those numpties.
Yeah, I think I'd keep Sterling for 2 reasons this week. One, because Villa play a very high line away from home. You've seen us get caught out at Newcastle and at Liverpool.
Yeah.
So I think for somebody like Sterling, I think he's going to be a threat when our fullbacks push forward.
Okay.
And 2, because Villa play in Europe on Thursday night. We're in Poland, so we'll be travelling back late Thursday, early hours of Friday morning. Chelsea have had 6 days rest and preparation for this game. And I do think that with teams like Chelsea and Spurs, because they're not in Europe, I think that we might start to see the benefits of that in the next 2 or 3 weeks. Now, I get why people are selling Jackson, fine, sling him out. I'll probably do the same. But with a player like Sterling, who has actually looked pretty threatening, I think, so far, I'd keep him. I'd definitely keep him for the next 3.
All of these players here are underperforming. They're all expected to get at least an assist or around an assist more. I'm just going to race through these others because we have mentioned a lot of these players already. Eze, Kulusevski, we've spoken about. Great asset. I'll just say the figures: 12 chances created, 5 corners, 3 successful crosses. Got Arsenal next. Eze, Crystal Palace got Fulham up next. One of the worst defences. 13 chances created, 18 corners, 11 successful crosses. Great stats. Good player. Son, we're not sure where he's going to play, but hopefully through the middle for those who own him. But he's had 9 chances created over the last 4, but that includes him out on the wing. Trippier, we've spoken about briefly, but just to read out his stats, he's got 13 successful crosses, 18 corners, 12 chances created, no assists, and he should have got 3/4 of an assist, so almost an assist. And this is typical from last season when we mentioned Trippier. He's got a huge amount of volume of corners, crosses, created chances, but the expected assists gurus don't deem them to be good chances often. So I don't expect an assist every week from Trippier. In fact, don't expect an assist every month. It's going to be rare, but you might get one. But it's those bonus potential. I mean, these underlying stats, this all racks up on the bonus point system, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I think he's a good asset. I mean, my little bit of concern with Trippier is with Champions League starting.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me if Livramento gets one of those games in the next kind of 3 or 4, but I think he's still a really good asset. He's going to play more often than not. Yeah. It's just whether you think he's worth £2 million more than Botman.
Botman I really like as well. I did a Newcastle video last week for Fantasy Football Scout, and we mentioned Trippier, and Botman has actually had a few shots on goal himself. He's getting the bonus as well, and he is £2 million cheaper. And I think there's probably less competition for Botman in terms of the seriousness of, like, Botman is needed, but Trippier's obviously needed as well. But as you said, Livramento can come in for the odd game.
I think the centre backs are probably a bit safer, aren't they? I think because Shares as well there, and he's obviously a bit of a threat too.
I think on that video I mentioned, I just recently seen the All or Nothing documentary about Newcastle, and Trippier came across really well if you want him for FPL, really bad if you want someone who's human and not a robot. He seems like literally a machine, a football machine that is driven about. He just wants to play. He just wants to start. He just wants to provide for his family by playing and being a professional footballer. Massively driven. He's exactly the FPL player you want, and I can't see him being dropped. I feel that he would turn into like Terminator if someone said you're going to be dropped. He would just turn into some kind of killing android machine.
Well, maybe he's just such a model pro that he will play every game and he'll surprise us.
I think he could. He's like he's been made at the professional footballer factory. He's incredible, and I mean this as a compliment to him because he's very, very driven. He seemed. Walker is next on the list. No one's going to go for Walker, but he has created 7 chances, 3 successful crosses. He's going to stay at Manchester City. No danger of him leaving. I mean, if they're not going to get clean sheets, as a Diaz owner, I bloody hope Manchester City get a clean sheet eventually. Walker could get you an assist, but people won't go for him though.
Well, he's got a bit more of that overlapping role this year. I mean, that right back at City used to kind of, or at least last year, seemed to be tucking in a lot, whereas it's a bit more variation this year in certain matches. But Champions League, again, I keep saying it, but when you've got a player like Walker, we might see a bit more. I'm not sure if now is the right time to go for that type of fullback at City.
Yeah. Okay, let's get one last table before we look at our teams and get some questions in. Differentials, I've extended this to 10% because I'm looking at like all seasons so far, so I think under 10%, that's going to get you up the rankings. Virtually all of these, though, are under 5%. Many are under 2% owned. Nevertheless, all differentials. Ferguson is tops. I've sorted this by minutes per expected goal involvement, non-penalty, and irrespective of how many goals or assists they've got. So this is everyone. This isn't those who are under the radar. These are ones you know have done well. Ferguson's got 4 goals so far across his 2 starts. No assists. Only created 1 chance. This guy is the goal guy. He's marginally overperformed by a goal. According to this, but he's got Bournemouth at home next. If he starts, great. If he doesn't start, he'll probably get 20-30 minutes, you would hope. I'm happy to own him for this. Neil Maupay's next. Mentioned him. He's probably unlikely to start, but nevertheless, I put him here because he's in there, and you never know. A 4.9 for Brentford. Bailey at Aston Villa. He's had 21. Talk about under the radar. No one's looking at Leon Bailey. Got 21 FPL points across his 2 starts. Just 2 chances created. He's got an assist. Marginally overperformed. He shouldn't have got that assist according to this in terms of expected goal involvement. Got a couple of goals already. I ask you about him every week, seemingly, and you always say he's not really nailed, and he's not.
Well,
but he's
not.
He's getting points. Any player that's got over 20 points at this stage is pretty good.
Yeah, he's got 2 goals. He's got an assist. He was benched at the weekend. Now, I don't think that was to do with what I say, that he is rotating. I think he'd been away on international duty with Jamaica. Zaniolo had played very well for Italy. So I think this was a good match to give him his full debut. But there's a lot of options at Villa. I mean, I don't think you're going to pay 5.5 for Bailey when Diaby's $1 million more is nailed. Yeah. But Bailey... Emery likes to play him generally in the home games, and he's actually connecting quite well with Diaby when he plays. So it's looking up for him.
Yeah, good. I'm glad he's here. Hopefully, we can get smug points for being the only podcast and video to mention Bailey. Brooks as well. We've spoken about him. I think Bournemouth assets are good. If you're looking for an enabler, Brooks 4.9. And I think he could happily sit on your bench if you want to go for that sort of 3-4-3. Sort of strategy. The next player that I've highlighted here is in the same bracket as Trossard, in that if he gets the minutes, he's going to get your returns. Yeah. And we've seen already Champions League, which is what we were waiting for. We spoke about it last week, I think. So we're waiting for with Champions League. Will Wilson get the game time? The answer is yes. Will he score? The answer is yes. He's had 3 goals already from just one start. So he's like Ferguson. He's just all about the goals. And he's 18 FPL points. Only just overperforming, only just slightly. Got Sheffield United away next. He's created a chance. It shows about the goals. Yeah, I think if I was wildcarding now, Wilson, I'd put Wilson there just to try him out during this Champions League run. Just to try him out.
Yeah, I think
switch him to anyone else.
Yeah, if he gets minutes, he'll deliver. And it couldn't have really gone better at the weekend because Isak was on the bench, but he didn't even come on Isak. So he's primed to start against AC, which makes you think. I think they play in the League Cup. They play in the League Cup against Man City next week. But if Wilson gets 10 minutes off the bench tonight, he's going to get some decent minutes, you'd think, at Sheffield United. What a great fixture for him.
Well, that's really good. I can't get Wilson in without a hit. And I'm happy with my team anyway. But I'm envious of Wilson owners. Well done for getting him in. Neto is next. We've spoken at length about Neto, but it's worth reiterating these stats here. He's had 25 FPL points so far. Much maligned Wolves player because people got him in last season. He didn't deliver. But his minutes per expected goal involvement every 138 minutes. Had 4 assists. And he's created 17 chances. That was the figure that you gave earlier. Got Luton next. If you want a 1 week punt before wildcarding, Neto's your guy. He's against Luton, and he's the assist guy, and he's obviously doing well there. Alanga is next. Everyone is talking about Awoniyi, but at Nottingham Forest, Alanga, who's great at Manchester United, 15 FPL points so far. Minutes per expected goal involvement, non-penalty every 141 minutes. Got Man City next. That's the bad bit. So perhaps now not the week to go for Alanga, but he's created 3 chances. I think he's a good little differential, isn't he, Alanga?
Again, when he gets the minutes, I chatted to Neil about it earlier, and or I think it was yesterday, but he might, when Forest played quite an attacking shape last night, they got 4 attackers onto the pitch, and so when they go back to that 3-4-2-1, it does feel like it'll be either Alanga or Hudson-Odoi. There might be a bit of a shootout between them. But when he does play, and I do think, like we said earlier, I think there's goals in that Forest team. There's more creativity now than there ever has been. So, let's just see what unfolds with that.
In the live chat already, Historia Films has said that Jackson out for Wilson is imminent for him. So, I think, the more I look at that Sheffield United game, that looks like Wilson goal game. I'm almost getting deja vu thinking about it. Sarr at Tottenham, we've spoken about. He's a differential, but he's got 18 points. But if you need an enabler, 4.6. Next name is Barnes, like Wilson, like Trossard. If he gets the minutes, he's going to get you the returns. 16 FPL points from just one start. Got an assist, and he's gotten a goal. Only marginally overperforming. Next match, Sheffield United. 2 chances created. Same thing, isn't it? I think he's a really, really good punt as well. You're not sure he's going to get returns, but the indication so far is that these bit part players are going to get the league games around tough Champions League games.
Yeah, I think he played at the weekend. I don't think he'll start at the San Siro tonight. No. I think he'll probably be Almiron for his work rate and probably Gordon as well. So then you think Sheffield United, perfect game, shoots on sight, Barnes. It wouldn't surprise me if he gets 4, 5, 6 shots at the Bramall Lane. He's a bit erratic with his finishing, but do we care about that as an FPL? No. As long as he's converting one of those chances, then it doesn't really matter. I like it as again, if he's benched tonight and he plays 5-10 minutes or whatever, then I like it as a punt, especially as a long-term hold, it's riskier. But if you're playing a game, if you're playing a wild card in 8 or 9 and you think you can risk it for a bit and you can hold him for a couple of weeks, maybe with a good first sub in case you don't think he's going to start, then he's an explosive winger. And he could get double digits.
I'll just mention Solomon here, doing well out on the wing for Spurs, 12 points so far. 9 chances created, got Arsenal next, so people probably won't go there for this match. But Michael in the live chat has pointed out that Gordon is also on yellow cards, 4 yellows, which could point out a start for Barnes anyway. I think for those that have had a really bad game week, there is a lot of really exciting differentials to go for next week, of which the ones we've highlighted: Ferguson at Brighton, Wilson at Newcastle, Neto doing well, Barnes at Newcastle, Trossard may start, who knows. There's a whole bunch of good differentials, so I hope we've given you a lot of good names there. We looked at those tables quite a lot because I think there's a lot of good names out there. But I
think just before we quickly move on, Joe, all I would say is that European football actually helps us now.
Yeah.
We haven't had much to go on before. We had no idea if Isak or Wilson was going to start, but now we can. You never know for sure, and you might get it wrong every now and again, but you can make educated punts on players now, thinking, well, he only got 10 minutes in Europe, more likely to start the weekend. So this is where following the team news and things like that you do with Neil and that can be really, and just keeping an eye on what happens in Europe can be a really key kind of part of FPL in the next few weeks.
Okay, now we're going to talk about our teams a bit now, what we're going to do for game week 6. Those in the live chat, do start putting your questions in now and put a question mark after them, and then we'll read them out after we've rambled on about our teams for a little bit. So Tom, I'll put your team up first. If you can read out who you've got, who you're captaining, and what your plans are. I can see just the one flag so far, but what your plans are, because it looks a good team.
Well, I thought that last week. That's FPL, isn't it? But I haven't felt the need to wild card or anything like that. The majority of picks I'm happy with. So for this week, I'm going to play the usual 3-5-2. I've got Onana in goal.
Yep.
I'm a bit concerned about him and United in general, but I think with the fixtures that they've got over the next 4, I don't really think that now's the time to switch the goalie, because there's not really an obvious.
No.
I spoke about Pope, I think, last week as a potential, and I did consider that. If he would have been 5 million, I would have bought him in. I just thought at 5.5 million, is he a touch overpriced this year? But I think I'm just gonna leave Onana now and hopefully United tighten up.
When I did the live Q&A video with David last week, and that was one of the questions about the best sort of combination of goalkeepers, and weirdly my favourite combination was exactly the same as my pre-season combination, which in both cases I didn't go for either of them. But it was, I think that Leno and Areola is the best combination, because when Areola's long term the one you're going to play most, and when he has a bad fixture, coincidentally Leno has a good fixture, and those who went for that combination last week would have got an immediate return from Leno through that, because they would have played Leno.
I've got to admit, I thought about it, but I didn't give it much more thought than that. Maybe I should have, but that's where I'm at anyway. So I'm going to leave that position for this week.
Yeah, me too.
Now, 3 defenders will play, obviously, this weekend. They're currently Gahey, who is flagged, but all of the noise coming out of Palace's camp at the weekend was that this was a short-term thing. I think they said if there'd been a few more days in between the games, he would have played. So I'm hopeful that he can come back in. I like that fixture for Palace at home against Fulham. So he'll play. I've still got a Stupinan, really confident with that this week. He's had his rest. He's had his rest after his excursions and international duty. So again, great pick. Got Chilwell, bit of uncertainty this week of having been dropped for Mudryk. There was loads of, Pochettino came out and said that he wanted a more offensive player on the left wing. Then the commentator during the game said that Chilwell had a slight knock. I think he got confused. I don't think there was anything in that. No. I think that I'm hopeful that Chilwell comes back in this week. I'm not sure what you think, Joe. But,
I think, well, like with Gabriel at the beginning of the season for Arsenal, yes, I think he will. But will he?
Yeah.
And
that's it. Yeah.
And I didn't get Chilwell in. I didn't get Chilwell in for will he, if I'm trying to say that correctly and not say a rude word. I didn't get him in for will he or won't he play. I got him in because he was nailed as and he was attacking. Now, if he is sharing minutes with Mudryk, that's not the Chilwell I got in. I've been missold. So for me, he's surplus to requirements because, yes, he may well start against Villa. Yes, he may well get space if he's playing out on the wing.
But we don't know.
But we don't know.
Yeah.
And if I don't know, I want rid.
Well, you see, that could be... Chilwell could be a route to a Newcastle defender.
Exactly.
That's the obvious player I'm missing, isn't it? Whether that's Botman, push the funds elsewhere, or go up to Trippier, which isn't too far from Chilwell. It's 0.7 million or something.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at the moment. And the defence looks okay, but that could quite easily become a problem later in the week. If I think Chilwell's 50-50 to start and Gahey isn't fit, that definitely requires a transfer. So that's where, because I don't really want to play Saliba and I don't really want to play Udogie.
Yeah, they're your two ones on the bench, yes. And yes, I can see that. It's a tough... I wouldn't expect clean sheets there.
No. But the defence at the moment, if Chilwell plays, it actually looks okay. And then, sorry, I've kind of digressed a bit.
That's fine.
Forward, in midfield, we've got Son, which was my transfer in last week. Sterling, Umbomo, who's my vice captain, and then I've got the double Man United midfield, Fernandes and Rashford. I'm really content with that midfield for now. I don't really feel the need. I took out Saka last week, which I knew was a risk at Everton. I wanted Son. I wanted to play the fixture. Now, I haven't got an Arsenal midfielder now, and that potentially leaves me a little bit exposed. But they've got Tottenham, Man City and Chelsea in the next 4. So I'm thinking I'm going to leave that. I'm probably going to say I'm going to ignore Arsenal now until I wild card in 9 or 10. So I think there's not really a midfielder this week that is jumping out at me, which I haven't got. So I think
any of those could get a return, or indeed Hall.
Hopefully, I need it after last week, that's for sure. So and then up front, Jackson and Haaland captain, nailed on. Archer on the bench. We spoke about the defenders, and I've also got Areola on the bench.
Jackson now, I mean, I guess in an ideal world, we've mentioned Wilson, we've mentioned Ferguson, we've mentioned a whole bunch of other strikers, Awoniyi. In an ideal world, would you, if your defence was, you were happier with your defence this week, would you be tempted to move Jackson?
Yeah, I am. I've got 2 free transfers anyway this week. So I've had 2 for a few weeks, and I'm just making the one move each week because I didn't think it required major surgery. So I've got 2 free transfers. I've got 0.8 million in the bank. So Jackson is on the chopping block. Like, I don't mind saying, well, I think Chelsea are going to improve over the next few weeks because there's no Europe, but I don't feel confident enough in that statement to have 2 attackers. You know, I've already got 2 Man United attackers and they're not looking great. So that's a lot of so I think taking Jackson out probably this week is what I'll do. So then we've got lots of forward options, haven't we?
So
Alvarez is the obvious one.
Yep.
We'll probably get a Man City leak because they're first up at 3:00 on Saturday. We'll probably find out there isn't a 12:30 game, there isn't a Friday night game, so we'll probably have a lineup leak. So we could know if he's going to play or not. It's not definite, but obviously at home against Forest, it's a good fixture for him.
Yeah.
You've got Morris from Luton, who's got the double game week, but I don't think I want to go there. I could, but I don't think I've quite seen enough for Luton to move for their forward, even though you get that additional game.
Yeah.
So it might, and if I decide I don't want to do Alvarez, which is I might go for a different route. There's Wilson, which is really exciting, which we spoke about. And I actually, it's a bit mad, but I love talking of Jackson. I really like Darwin this week as well. I think that he's going to play for Liverpool at home against West Ham. I watched him against Villa in the last match. He had loads of chances. Typical Darwin fashion, didn't convert, but he got a couple of assists. So that's another one. So it might be a forward move this week, but something a little bit left field than maybe Alvarez, who is the most transferred player of the game.
Would you use your second transfer to get a Newcastle?
Not unless I have to at the back.
Okay, fair enough.
I could. I'm not ruling that out. I could play them at Sheffield United.
Okay.
But I'm not totally sure on that at the moment. So Jackson, definite move, I think, at this stage. And then
I think then I'll be interesting to a lot of people. A lot of people own Jackson. A lot of people want to get rid, and to hear someone like you say you want to get rid of as well.
I think you can keep him. I think like the next 3 fixtures are there. But you've got to think of your sanity sometimes. And watching Jackson is not easy at the moment. I've kind of said, I think we said on this video, look, he's new to the league. He's a bit of an unknown, but I'm going to give them this game. I'm going to give him this game. But it gets to a point after 5 games where if you're not enjoying watching the player, and there comes a point where you think, well, okay, the fixture's all right, but I've got to make this move just for my own. I want to enjoy looking at my team.
Yeah.
And I want to feel excited going into matches. Yeah. They play Villa as well, which as a Villa fan, maybe a little bit that's playing on my mind as well. I don't really want to be cheering on Sterling and Jackson in that game.
No.
So there is a bit of that, which we shouldn't really bring into FPL, but we do as fans of teams, don't we? So, I'm pretty sure he'll go this week. So.
Okay, so some changes there. Okay, here's my team. Okay, so I'll read this out. I've got a 3-5-2. I'll read it out and then I'll go back to any sort of decisions and things. I've got Onana in goal against Burnley. I think he's better than Matt Turner against Man City. I've got Ruben Diaz finally. Oh, if I could get a turn from Ruben Diaz against Nottingham Forest, it'd be amazing. Chilwell, Estupinan. Got great fixtures for Estupinan. I do have 1 million in the bank, which is a one free transfer, and I'm currently thinking of removing Chilwell to Trippier. Yeah. Trippier's a player I think I want long term, and Chilwell, like Gabriel, Chilwell might get a return against Aston Villa, but I didn't get him from Willie play or Will Mudryk play. So I think if for some reason I think I can do that even if there's Chilwell goes down in price and Trippier goes up in price, but if there's more than a double change, maybe I won't. So if that happens, which I don't think it will. I mean, chances are might not even be some price changes at all, but then I'll just get Botman him. So I'll get one of them. If I can afford Trippier, I'll go for him. If I can't, I'll go for Botman.
Yeah, there's 3 good picks at the back for Newcastle, isn't there? And they're all various price points, and it's kind of nice to have that. So.
Yeah, definitely. In my 3-5-2, in my midfield, I've got Maddison, Rashford, Fernandes, Saka against Tottenham at home, Sterling at home to Villa we mentioned. So yeah, like you, I'm happy with my midfield. And Bomo is the notable omission there in terms of a well-owned player that could do well. And obviously Salah's there, but would require surgery. So any of those can go to Mbeumo, but I'm not going to be doing that. I think a Newcastle defender's my priority. And up front, I've got Haaland captain and Ferguson, who got me a hat-trick 2 weeks ago. Almost got me another goal when he came on against Manchester United. I'm happy with it. I'm just going to sort of I hope all of these players survive midweek on Champions League, and then I'll go into that. Now I've got a wedding to go to on Saturday, and it's literally in the middle of Wales, and I don't think I'm going to have any. I'm not going to be able to see team leaks. I'm not going to be able to see anything. Even if someone there did, I don't think I'll have the connection to do anything about it. So I'm going to just sort of stick with a team like this. And if there are team links, I hope my bench can cover them. And my bench is Archer, first sub, Udogie at Arsenal, and Bayer, who's played home to Manchester United. And I've got Turner in goal as well, but I don't think he's going to come on. So that's why I'm looking. That's the way I'm set up. I don't mind this, but I'm like I missed out with the Gabriel news in game week 1. If there's any news, you're welcome to it, because I won't get it, because I'll be in the middle of fairyland in Wales.
I would think for your team, Joe. I mean, it's not like you're waiting on a Foden or a pet team league or anything. Haaland you'd think is locked into that game, and Diaz as well. They're 2 of the mainstays of that team. The rest of the players. I mean, if Ferguson plays in Greece on Thursday, Joe, and he starts, which is a possibility, would you still then be tempted to, knowing that you think you can get points off the bench as a sub, would you hold him for the weekend, or would that kind of sway your thinking?
No, he's at home to Bournemouth, so say, I mean, Welbeck against Manchester United, I think got the extra minutes, and also Ferguson didn't get many minutes because he was coming back from an injury, but now he's so if he plays midweek, that could even mean he gets a start. against Bournemouth. But it would certainly indicate if he didn't, Welbeck would get the minutes. Ferguson might come on. And the same with Bournemouth. Welbeck starts, then Ferguson comes on. But a fit. De Zerbi said about Ferguson before. He said, "Oh, he's been training, but he's not at his best." So I assume he will be by next weekend.
Yeah.
Basically, I'll take 10 to 20 minutes of Ferguson over anyone else.
Yeah, I mean, a home fixture against Bournemouth doesn't probably feel like the wrong time to take him out, because you're kind of trying to second guess De Zerbi, and that's probably not the wise thing to do anyway, because he could get, worst case scenario, 20 minutes off the bench, 25 minutes off the bench, and he could still be a very good option.
Exactly, fine.
So, and what a differential to have, because nobody else has got him.
No. Well, I think he's up to about 7% owned or so. I think 7 or maybe 8. So there might be a few getting in on wild cards. Fixtures aren't great after Bournemouth, but then they get better. So long term, he's a good player to get in. Remains to be seen whether I'll keep him on my wild card, because you don't know whether he's going to start. And when you wild card, you've got the opportunity to go for a bit more nailed players. But yeah, he's really good, isn't he? Okay, we've got some questions in the live chat. As we're chatting, do put some more in here. Omar asks, is Newcastle defence, or at least one of them, essential for the next 2 weeks? No one's essential, but I would say they're very, very, very useful. They're going to get increasingly well owned. Everyone who wildcarded last week got 1 or 2 in. Everyone who wildcards this week will get 1 or 2 in. Everyone who wildcards the week after will get 1 or 2 in. People like me who aren't wildcarding are getting 1 in. You see basically, if you haven't got one and they get a clean sheet, that's your ranking drop there and then.
You summed it up perfectly, Joe. They're not essential because goals are, they could easily concede at Sheffield United in the big game. It's the 4:30 kickoff on Sunday, packed out Bramall Lane.
Yeah.
Archer, Hamer, of course they could score, but they're the best options right now. If you're bringing in a defender, even it's not just the next 2 fixtures, it's probably the next 5 that are playable in all of those games. If you're bringing in a defender this week, it feels like it should be a Newcastle option, but whatever price point you can afford.
No. Definitely. Gavin asks, with Turner and Johnston potentially being replaced, who would you transfer out first?
So he's got both.
He's got both. Well, I'm not sure Johnston is going to be replaced anytime soon, as in the next week or 2.
No, they've signed Henderson, haven't they? And a bit like at Forest, I'm not going to try and pronounce the new Greek keeper, I think, but there's obviously pressure on them now. Hodgson's normally pretty upfront about this kind of thing, so keep an eye on the press conferences. Yeah. They have just conceded 3 against Villa and 2 against Wolves. But there's been players out at the weekend. Gahey was out. And Lerma as well has been important for them. So you might not have to make that move this week.
No.
But longer term, if you are looking to transfer out, I'd probably transfer out the 4.5 keeper.
Yeah.
Because if you sell Turner first, then you're going to have 2 players that are going to be 4.5 or 5.
I've seen a lot of wild cards are going Flecken and Areola. Yeah. As I said earlier, my preference would be Leno and Areola currently. By the time I wild card, that may be different, but currently I prefer those 2. They just dovetail quite nicely. And Leno is the top performing goalkeeper. May not like the Fulham defence.
Last year as well, didn't he? So.
May not like the Fulham defence, but he's getting save points, bonus points, even if they concede. Andrew Barton agrees about Harvey Barnes. Going to go into his team imminently.
Nice.
Omar again. Porro to start, Porro or Kabore. Obviously, that's a tricky one. They're both ideally, I would make a transfer rather than starting either of them. But Porro, obviously, because you might get an attack in return.
I think they both concede this weekend.
Yeah.
But Kabore, he created a couple of good chances at the weekend. I guess, but then I might be tempted to play Kabore, I think.
Yeah.
Just Play
against
at
Wolves.
home.
Never. I don't know.
Yeah. Wolves are obviously looking better, aren't they?
I'm in the Wolves zone. The Wolves are the sort of mascot team of this video.
I'm just thinking they're both going to concede. So where do I
Yeah.
see the attack in return most
Yeah.
likely? And Kabor did as a wing back. Let's get forward. Of course, Porro though. I mean, kind of in that inverting role, but it is Arsenal away.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably only one tougher fixture, and that's Man City away.
Yeah.
So
Aston Villa Bozzy asks you, particularly Tom, Neto versus Luton. So on a similar theme, you were talking about going for Kabore. Would you play Neto against Luton?
would it play him or would you buy him? Is that what the
Buy,
question?
play. Well, let's just say play.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Yeah, they play with wing backs, Luton, don't they? So you'd expect Wolves wingers to be able to get in behind those into those gaps. I think Bowen had a bit of joy against Luton recently, making those kind of diagonal runs in. So Neto, he's playing well at the moment. I mean, you've got to remember he's 5.5 million. Don't be expecting a brace or a hat trick. But yeah, I do think that I'd probably prefer somebody like Eze over him this week, but obviously he's $1 million more. So it depends what you can do in your team. I certainly wouldn't have a problem playing Neto this week.
Aston Villa Bozzy again asks a question, but basically saying is Alvarez a good option? Yes, even if he plays for 30 minutes, he's better than Jackson.
I've seen a few people say, look, he's overperforming his expected assists and blah blah blah. But look, he's playing in Man City. He's playing behind Haaland. He is creating chances.
Yeah.
They're naturally going to score a lot of goals.
Yeah.
This is not a bad option.
That's not overperforming. That's simply being the bloke behind Haaland, who's like the best striker in the world.
I don't get it. He's 6.8 million.
Yeah.
Pepper said he's almost undroppable. That normally means he's going to be dropped pretty soon. But he's still going to play. He's probably going to play most games because they haven't got that many options now. De Bruyne is out. Gundogan's gone, so he's going to have to play minutes. He's going to play some serious minutes, and I think Pep likes his work rate. I think he's a great option. I mean, to be fair to Mark, he got on board with Alvarez very early this year,
and Salah as well.
Now, and I kind of like it when these picks because they're good picks, and he's kind of gone. Well, look, I'm not going to go for Jackson. I'm going to go down this route, and it's really paid off for him. And fair play. I think he's a really good pick, and especially for these next couple of games. I think you probably. Do you want Alvarez for Arsenal, Brighton, Man United? Well, you can because City are going to score past them. But there's probably it's really a pick for the next 2 weeks. So maybe wait for team news on Saturday. If we get the leak that he starts, which we hope he will do, then pull the trigger. And I think, expect him to get something in that match on Saturday.
Series asks me, probably, but this could apply to anyone who's thinking this as well. Won't Chilwell to Trippier, if you've got that money, lock you out of the 7 to 8 million strikers? Yes, potentially. But in my case, I've got Ferguson, and I'm going to move him to Morris in game week 7 for the double, and then game week 8 to 9, I'm probably going to wild card. So I can live without a 7 to 8 million striker, and I don't know which one I want to get anyway.
I was going to say the only striker in that bracket would probably be Watkins from game week 8 anyway, I think, unless I've missed somebody.
Well, I'd prefer Alvarez, but even though City's fixtures change, it's City.
And he's only 6.8 at the moment, isn't he? So he's a little bit cheaper than that.
Aaron asks, Wissa's blanked 3 in a row. That's not too bad for his price, but he has blanked in 3 in a row despite the decent upcoming fixtures. Would you get rid for Alvarez or Edouard? I wouldn't say now is the time to get rid. I mean, if you've got the luxury. No. But
he's been unlucky. He's shooting a lot. Like, he's had twice as many shots as Mbeumo across the course of the season. And he hasn't got penalties, but he's got Everton at home.
And they're not
they're in disarray. So I'd keep.
I would keep him for the next 2 easy games, and then Brentford's playing Manchester United in game week 8.
Another easy game.
But if he doesn't get any returns against Everton and Nottingham Forest, then that would be the time I would be considering getting rid, definitely. Roynish is busy. He's got to go off and do something, which I can't repeat. Take my money says, do you think transferring Ferguson this week is a bad or good idea? See, I don't know about getting him in. I've already got him in. I'm happy to have him in.
I wouldn't get him in.
I wouldn't get him in because I don't know whether he'll start. and play.
And it's what comes after, isn't it, as well? You've got some tricky fixtures after Bournemouth.
What I would say, though, if you are wildcarding in game week 7, I think Ferguson is a good player to get in because it's like a good 1 week punt this week. I would also say, if you are planning to get Morrison, like I am in game week 7, which is part of the reason I got Ferguson in, just to do this move, you could, and you've got the transfers, you could get Ferguson in, take a punt, and then you've got, and maybe you've got 2 free transfers this week, so you can maybe downgrade Jackson and use that money somewhere else, for example Trippier, and then next week you've got that 6 million in place to get Morrison if you wanted to get him game week 7. That's a strategy, but you've got to have the sort of transfers to do that. Do you know what, you could do that?
Good. Yeah, I could have that kind of rotating position and move them in and around. That's probably what I'd do if I moved for Darwin. That would definitely be a rotating position. It would be a 1 week thing for West Ham, and then it would probably move to Morris. If I bought Wilson, I think I'd probably find it quite hard to sell him the week after, unless he played the full League Cup game or something. But I mean, I haven't needed to make that many transfers. I mean, I say that about coming off a bad week, but there hasn't been. It's easy to say that now, but when I'm going into the game weeks and I'm putting my team up here, there's not been obvious moves. I made a goalkeeper transfer with my 4 million one. I took Saka out for Son, which wasn't really a necessary transfer last week. So I keep saying that, I could have that position, which is a bit more flexible, which is why going for somebody like Darwin just for a 1 week thing, if I think he starts. If he doesn't play in Europe on Thursday, then that might be an option. Okay,
we're heading up for an hour and a half, so thanks for all your questions. Got a few more, so we'll sort of try and be as quick as we can with these. Rashford or Salah for the next 5 game weeks? That'll be Salah if you can afford it, I would say. Lennox asked, would you start Awoniyi over Jackson this week? I don't know, because it's Man City. I'd probably say no, even though I think Jackson's total pants.
It's going to be a tough match for Forest, isn't it? I mean, it's not just Awoniyi. I'd probably say that to most strikers who are going to City. I'd probably play the one at home over him.
I think Mark A asked, would you start Ward-Prowse or Maddison, or both of them this week? They're both much of a muchness this week. They're both good. They both could get hauls. They both have tough fixtures. I wouldn't like to play both of them, but I wouldn't mind. Well, I am playing one of them. I'm playing Maddison.
I would play Maddison, I think, over the two of them. I wouldn't mind playing Ward-Prowse. You know, Liverpool don't look particularly stable at the back right now. They've got players out. But I do think that Maddison is the better asset out of those two. He'll play further forward. He loves being at Spurs, and I can see him doing something in the North London derby, getting a return there, I think. So I'll play him.
Belfast Bunch asked, will Joe ever play that guitar on the podcast? Probably not this one, but I have said that if Nathan Ferguson gets game time for Crystal Palace on the team news one, I will at least play a chord. It'll be a melancholy chord because he'll probably get injured. But I will at least do something, a note or a chord or a tune. If I play a tune and it's someone else's tune, we won't get any revenue, and we'll get all sorts of copyright problems. So I'll either have to write one quickly or just play a chord. But I'll do that on Team News, Nathan Ferguson watch.
I think you could pen a special song for Nathan Ferguson, Joe. So.
Magic 69 asks, start Watkins or João Pedro? Start Watkins because he's nailed on. Pedro's not, but which will get returns? That could be Pedro. He's got a return against Manchester United. Start Chilwell or Colwell this week? That's tough. I would say neither. Chilwell. Because you might, if he starts, he'll get an attack and return. Colwell, you're just relying on clean sheets really, on bonus, but I don't think he's going to get that.
Well, Pochettino came out after the game at the weekend and he said that he wasn't particularly happy with his fullbacks, and they were Gusto and Colwell, because he said that he actually said they were pushing up too far when they were going after a goal, and they were kind of, moving in on everything was becoming too cramped and condensed, and it was the fullbacks pushing up too far, which I found really interesting. And I think he's going to stick. You would think he would stick to this tactic, wouldn't you, with Colwell at left back and Gusto at right back? But he might put Colwell to the left and maybe move Disasi over to the right or something for Gusto to kind of flip that a little bit if he's not happy with it. But I would definitely play Chilwell and just hope that he gets that start, because obviously with Colwell, and he did have a goal disallowed at the weekend, but generally you're relying on clean sheet points, aren't you? Whereas Chilwell, you know, you can get those assists, you can get those goals, providing he plays.
Okay. I mean, thanks so much for all your questions. We're not going to get time for any more. In general, though, there was a lot about Chelsea assets, what to do. I think the consensus that we've got here is that Jackson is awful. Get rid of him. But he's not, you know, he would be the one to get rid of. Chilwell, that's a leap of faith that he'll start again. But it's not a great fixture for clean sheets. And Manchester...
maybe Poch will say something in the press conference. We don't know. He might hint at something. So watch the team he's on Friday.
And a few questions about Manchester United assets. We think it's a good fixture, and the ones that a lot of us have in terms of attacking, Rashford, Fernandes, are actually still really good.
Even Højlund, I would be fine playing him and keeping him for a while now.
Okay. Thanks a lot for everyone to join us. Good luck with your game week. I hope game week 6 is better than game week 5 for most of us. Certainly for us too. Thanks for joining me, Tom, and good luck with your game week 6. Once again, you are in a great position because you've got 2 free transfers, and you can do all sorts of things, but you can get the second best player at Manchester City, and just like that, off the bat, and remove one of the worst players we've had for some time.
Let's see what happens, but that is a definite consideration.
Okay, thanks a lot, Tom. See you next week. Good luck, everyone, and do remember to press that like button if you like what you've seen, and do subscribe if you've not already, to make sure you don't miss out on any of our coverage. Thanks a lot. See you soon. Bye now.
Okay.